everybody. Karyn Bryant, and I'm here with
Alan Jouban, guys. What's happening?
Hey, so we are here with a preview of the UFC 265 co-main event between Jose Aldo and Pedro Munhoz. Alan and I have gotten together now. We figured do these quick little breakdowns of some of the main and co-main events. We'll try to keep it under 10 minutes. But Alan, before we kind of get into the real X's and O's, overall vibe on this fight, what are you feeling about it?
Overall vibe, having Pedro Munhoz, a former partner, teammate of mine, I know this is a big fight for him. Co-main event right here, step up, big pay-per-view shot, fighting a legend, a former champion in Jose Aldo. And first thing that comes to my mind is this is a very tough fight for Pedro. A tough fight, looking at a champion, somebody that he used to look up to, two Brazilian fighters fighting one another. But also that just when you look at their styles, I feel like Pedro's going to be at a disadvantage when it comes to speed, when it comes to reach. And then Pedro's one of his best assets as well. He's got tremendous jiu-jitsu. So does Jose Aldo. I think Pedro has a power and a guillotine advantage. We can break down the fight a little bit more. But it's a huge opportunity, but a very tough task, in my opinion, for Pedro Munhoz.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to just be honest. I'm a total mark for Jose Aldo. You know this. Anybody that ever watched the MMA podcast knows I love me some Jose Aldo. That said, Pedro Munhoz is terrific and is very, very good. Just to reset. So Munhoz is 34. His record is 19-5, 5 knockouts, 8 submissions. The last time we saw him, he did have a fight of the night with Jimmy Rivera. So he's coming in hot, you know what I mean? And he won that fight, so it was a UD win, and he got fight of the night. Before that, he did lose to Frankie Edgar and Aljo. So yes, if you're looking at his experience with champions and those levels, then that does give you pause to think, it's going to be tough. Jose Aldo, 34, 29, and 7 is his record, 17 knockouts. So Jose's record has been a little funky lately, right? He had that split decision loss to Marlon in his bantamweight debut. But then they said, that was such a close fight for the title with Jan. He didn't beat Jan, but then he did beat Chito Vera the last time out. So I agree, I think when Jose went down, people were curious if he could even make the weight. Usually older fighters go up in weight, not down. And it does seem like it maybe took a second to get his footing, but he looked really good and he could take a punch there, which I think people were worried he couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've seen like the evolution of Jose Aldo, right? I mean, there's been so many keys to this timeline of his career. It's been such a successful, tremendous career. But if we're just kind of going back, we think, he was just so well known for just being very fast and those speedy leg kicks. He had these tremendous kicks. Over the years, he's backed off of those kicks for whatever reasons. But we've seen this tremendous boxing come out of where he'll sit there in the pocket and he'll show the head movement. And I don't think anybody in the division really can match him for the hand speed. When it comes to boxing, MMA boxing style hand speed, the hand speed mixed with the head movement, tremendous. And as you mentioned, he's got a jaw, he's got a chin on him, he's able to throw hands. That's kind of what Pedro likes to do. Pedro likes to get into his range and throw boxing. He's not quite as fast as Jose Aldo. He does have tremendous striking, but I think there's going to be a speed differential. And I also wrote down that there was a reach difference. There's a 5-inch reach difference, And look, Pedro has fought everybody and anybody. He's used to being at maybe a deficit in a reach. And maybe Jose Aldo is used to having a reach advantage on some people. But when you're fighting somebody who stylistically is very similar to you, but has a drastically different body type and 1 inch in height but 5 inches in reach, and then a good amount of speed, man, it's just he's going to have to come forward. This is one of those fights that I really feel like for Pedro to get the victory, he's going to be busted up. He's just going to have to go into the fire the entire time. He's going to have to face the fire, eat the shots of Jose Aldo, try to corner him off and land some of those power shots and maybe hurt him and slap on a guillotine or something. But I feel like Jose Aldo, we're going to see him landing a significant amount of strikes in this fight.
Well, and I think part of the leg kick, when he stopped doing it, right, he had gotten into that scooter accident.
Right.
And so there was maybe some hesitancy on that part. And, it's interesting because obviously all we hear about are leg kicks now. And this is a guy that used to do that to people so long ago, like before it was cool. So it will be interesting to see if that comes back in. look at Jose is older. It's funny because they're both 34, but obviously Jose Aldo's 34 is different than other people just because of everything that he's been through. But I also do think of, that, and not that Pedro doesn't have it too, but that big show experience, right? That coming up and shining in those moments. And again, like that's who Jose is. Jose's a star like that. And he feeds off the crowd. And you saw that last win that he got. It was so emotional to him. Like also, when you are, and because you did retire. We don't know how many more Aldo fights we're getting, right? Like, I feel like every single time now, it's so special, and there's like so much at stake that he's going to give everything. Like, I don't think any of these Jose Aldo fights now we're ever going to get anything less than 3,000% from him, because how many more times is he going to do it? I just love him. I just don't want him to stop.
It's so wild to think that, as you just said, Jose Aldo, who'd been fighting forever, was the WEC champion, has so many wars, and was a champion for a long time. He's 34 years old. I mean, that's really like, I felt like I was getting into my prime around 34, 35. Yeah. And here he is towards the back end of his career at 34. And him and Pedro are the same age. But Pedro's a guy that from day one, seeing him in the gym, he was a leader. At Black House, he was a bantamweight, but he was a leader. He led the team. When I was there, when some of the bigger bodied guys, Kevin Casey and all these guys were there, even sometimes Lyoto Machida and Silva would come around. Those guys were the legends. But Pedro was like, all right, I'm the drill captain today. You guys follow my lead. This is what's going on. And he had that quality about him. He wanted to go to Florida and mix his scene up and find other training partners. He did that because fighting comes first. He's the guy that got into the UFC around the same time me and all the Black House guys did. Yeah. But he has emerged. He's emerged as a guy that will be a contender. He's in that contender section of the 1, 2, 3 type guys. He's always fighting those top guys. And now that he's fought guys like Frankie Edgar underneath his belt, that was a decision that could have gone either way. It went in the way of Frankie Edgar. I don't think Pedro agreed with that decision. I think having that 5-round experience against a legend like Frankie Edgar and going back to the drawing board, as you will, off of a loss and go, maybe this is what I could have done differently in the 4th and 5th round to turn up the pace. Or maybe this is what I could have done differently. I need to now use that experience against the legend Jose Aldo. So I know he's going to be thinking all these things because it's such a tough task ahead of him against Jose Aldo, but he's got the capabilities. And you said, they're the same age. They're the same age. There's a little bit of a reach difference and speed difference, but stylistically, I see a lot of similarities in their game right now.
Well, and you're right, because I did work that fight of him versus Frankie, and it was very close. And so while I did initially say, like, hey, he hasn't beaten the champions, but that was an incredibly close fight. And he banged up Frankie. I remember seeing Frankie leaving for the airport later that night, and he was limping. I mean, he was banged up. So yeah. So either way, it's going to be a great one in the bantamweight division. We know Aljo is starting to be on the mend again. We think, we'll have Jan and Aljo. Obviously, Corey Sandhagen was not victorious the other day, so we have TJ Dillashaw back in the mix with these guys. But, Jose Aldo, Pedro Munhoz are always going to be important names as long as they're fighting in that division. So should be a good one, Alan. I don't know who's next. I don't know who gets it, but it's going to be good.
And then who's in the Coco slot? Is that Chiesa versus
That might
Vicente?
be Chiesa versus Vicente Luque. And my girl Angie's up in there too. Angie Overkill getting her rematch with Tisha Torres. Yeah, honestly, that Chiesa Luque fight's going to be really good too, I think. Whew. Good stuff.
Yeah,
good
that's
stuff.
a really good fight. I mean, we lost the Amanda Nunes co-main event, but those 3 fights right there are pay-per-view type fights, so that'll be exciting.
That's right. Well, listen, folks, Alan and I are teaming up to do these previews on main events and co-main events, and sometimes we might do the co-co as well if we're feeling it, but trying to keep these under 10 minutes or so. If you want to find them, you can look for them on my YouTube channel. So look for Karyn Bryant, Karyn, Bryant as in Kobe, no relation, but may he rest in peace. You can also find me over on Twitter with that handle. On Instagram, I'm at KB Heat. Alan, where can they find you?
At Alan Jouban. Alan, no relation to Alan Jackson, but Alan Jouban. I'm trying to find something cool. I like how you're saying it now, Karyn. I like the Kobe thing. I'm digging it. Keep going with it.
Yeah.
Alan Jouban, guys. Make sure and follow.